What's so interesting over there, huh? What are you doing? Huh? There she is, guys. It's my new ride that I just picked up. I know some of you guys have been checking out some pics on Instagram. Actually, I only posted one pic of this car on Instagram, but I think some of you guys knew what was coming up. What's going on, guys? This is Oregon Motorcycle. There's a special warning right now. There will be no motorcycle content in this video. I don't know how well that's going to go over with some of you guys, but I'm just making a video to check in with you guys and show off my new car. So we're going to go over a couple cool things on about this car, and I'm going to tell you how much I paid for it. I'm going to tell you a couple things about owning a BMW and all that good stuff. But first, give a special shout out to all my subscribers. You guys know that I was trying to hit 6,000 subscribers by the end of 2020, and I'm proud to announce that I hit exactly 6,000 subscribers on Christmas Day, which was an excellent Christmas gift, I guess you could say. I was totally stoked that happened on Christmas Day. So today is January 1st, 2021. It is a brand new day of a brand new year. And here is my new to me car to start that year with. So let's jump into it. My dog Gretel. She's a Doberman. She's awesome. She's my best friend. She's a little skittish right now. Checking out all the geese and the ducks everywhere. Anyways, guys, this is a 2011 BMW 128i. It is considered a 1 Series, as I'm sure some of you have already figured out. Now, the 1 Series, according to my knowledge, and some of you may correct me on this, I believe for the US market was built between 2004 and 2013. After 2000, I think they switched the body style in 2011 actually, but that was European destination only. They quit importing these into the United States in 2013, so they were only imported into the United States for a handful of years. And so it makes the car a bit rare, and I noticed that on my search. So I went through some crap when I was trying to buy one of these cars. I actually had a couple that I was gonna buy, and I was actually had my financing done, and the car sold while we were getting the financing done. So, and I was looking at some cars out of state because, again, there's not that much of a selection of these cars. But I will say that I did buy this car local. I had found it during my search, but I couldn't get a hold of the dealership for whatever reason. So I kind of put it to the side, and this car had a bit higher mileage than I wanted, but at the same time, I got a pretty good deal, I think, on this. And like I said, we'll talk about the price of this later. BMW ownership is fun. This will be my 7th BMW automobile that I've owned, and I've done a couple BMW flips. I used to really be into like flipping stuff and flipping cars actually. And there's certain models of BMWs that are pretty easy flips if you know a couple of the tricks. So a couple of the tricks being having the computer software to get inside the computers of these cars so you can really find out what's going on. That's the main key. So basically, if you guys have the computer system, an internet connection, and are somewhat mechanically inclined, you guys can handle an older BMW like this. It's not that big a deal. You know, a lot of people look at BMWs and are like, oh, those are maintenance nightmares and they're so expensive and parts are expensive. It's not really the case, and especially on this car shares a lot of parts with the E92 platform, which is a 3 Series, and I believe that was produced between 2006 up to 2014 or 16. You guys can correct me on that. So a lot of the parts on this car, such as the suspension and motor parts, are very common. So I've already looked at some of the parts on this car, and they're not that expensive. And we're going to go over a couple things about what kind of maintenance this car needs. It does need a little bit of work, and I'll go over that with you guys too here in a minute. So aside from, you know, being fun and having a fun car and trying to deal with the maintenance issues on BMWs, They're fun because they're performance oriented, and they're actually really safety oriented too. And when you combine those two together, you get a great platform. And every BMW that I've owned, I love to drive them. That ultimate driving machine model that they have is pretty true, and I can contest to that. They're just a joy to drive. The way they fit you, the way they comfort you, the way they handle, the way they perform, the way they stop, the way they go. It's all just a really great experience. And this is not a super fast car by any means. This is the 3-liter inline 6 naturally aspirated. This is actually the last of the naturally aspirated BMW engines that are made. And this motor puts out right at 240 horsepower. I believe that's what it's spec'd to in this car. I believe in the 3 Series it was spec'd to 260. And if you got one of the ultra low emission cars, it was spec'd at 220 horsepower. And that's right around 200 or 220 foot-pounds of torque. So they're real torquey, and the torque comes on almost instantaneous. I believe the torque curve is almost at 100% within like 1500, 2000 RPM. So you get that inline 6 torque from these motors that dates back all the way to like the mid 90s with the E36. They're just a joy to drive, these 6 cylinders. So yeah, we got an inline 6 with approximately 240 horsepower, 200 foot-pounds of torque, in a car that weighs just over 3,000 pounds. So the power to rate ratio is decent. And like I said, it's not really fast, but it's decent. Now they do offer this car with a turbo inline 6 3-liter that puts out approximately 300 horsepower and a little bit more torque, I believe. And you know, that's a pretty hot car, but it does come with more maintenance issues with the turbos and the wastegates and that kind of thing. And with my research, and I don't plan on really doing any mods to this car at all. I just want to keep it stock and drive it. And so, you know, the larger motor in the 135 is highly desirable for tuners because it's built like a brick shit house, and it'll handle, I've heard, from 600 to 800 horsepower with the turbo souped up on stock internals, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. So, and you know, there's some mods to do on this kind of car here that I can do pretty easily. Like for instance, the intake, I can change the intake on it and bump the power up to 260, I believe, somewhere around there. But like I said, I don't really have any plans to do any of that. I just want to get some of the basic maintenance out of the way first that is going to be due, that we'll talk about right now. And I got some of the price knocked down on this car. You know, when I bought it, because I noticed these things that needed to be done on the car, and I talked with the salesman, and we were able to negotiate on the price and all that good stuff. So speaking of price, you guys, BMWs have this, they have this reputation, and you know, if any of you watching this own BMWs, you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. People tend to look at you a bit different because they see a beautiful car that's got a BMW Roundel on it, and they think that, oh, this guy's got money. And that is truly 100% not the case. I drive these cars because, like I said earlier, they're super fun to drive, not to mention the styling. I mean, look, this car is one of my favorite BMWs as far as styling goes. I love the back end of this car. I love the way it looks, the way it stands. It's got an aggressive stance, and it's small. I love small cars. I had one of my, this one's probably gonna take the cake for my favorite, but my favorite BMW that I've owned was my Z3, and that Z3 was super, super small and just a ton of fun. But you know, I don't know, I might like this a little bit better. And the thing about, you know, driving these cars, like I said earlier, and I noticed in my Z3, because my Z3 was a little bit fancy, and you get your haters, right? And it's kind of funny. So with this, I've only owned this car a couple days, and what I've noticed right out of the gate is I'm getting tailgated really, really bad. You guys, and I've owned a lot of cars and I've been through a lot of cars, and to see the amount of tailgating I'm getting in this car within the first couple of days, it's quite astounding. I didn't get tailgated that much in my Z3, but I'm not like cruising around. I'm doing like 5 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, like in 40 mile an hour zones and even 35 mile an hour zones, and people are like inches away from my bumper. And I think a lot of that has to do with maybe some of the animosity associated with these cars. People think, oh, BMW drivers are jerks. They never use their turn signals, and they're just, you know, a-holes on the road and blah, 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 blah. Some of that's associated with the performance of the car. You guys drive one of these, you'll know that it turns and stops and accelerates very quickly. When you become accustomed to that, you might seem like a little more aggressive driver compared to the normal driver. You know, and it kind of is what it is, you guys. Again, nobody driving these cars is special. And when I tell you the price of this car, I think you guys will be a little bit surprised. So some of the maintenance things that this is going to need is it's going to need new tires, and it's actually got mismatched tires right now. I think these are the Toyos up front, which are actually really good tires, and it's got the DWs out back, the Continentals, which are really good tires too. And I used to run the Continentals on my other Beamers. I love those. The DWS, I believe I ran, no, the DWs I ran on my Z, and I ran DWSs on my X5 that I had. And those are superb tires, and so the Toyo tires. So, but they're getting worn out. They're probably gonna need to be replaced in the next 5 to 10,000 miles. This is a square setup, so I can rotate them. Unlike my Z, and eventually the wheels I upgraded on my X5, they were staggered, so you can't rotate the tires on a staggered setup. This is a square setup, so I can rotate the tires, which will give me a little more life out of the tires. The rear tires on my Z, I'd get about 20,000 miles out of them. And you know, and that wasn't a hot rod. That was a 2.8 liter 6-cylinder naturally aspirated. So, so yeah, there's that. Tires and alignment. Sure, you'll need alignment when you put the tires on it. And the next item is the brakes. These rotors are pretty hammered up front. They got some rust on them. The calipers don't look that great either. And the brake light is on in the car. Now, the dealership told me that they replaced the brake pads. I got the receipt. They put genuine BMW brake pads on, but the brake light's still on, and their excuse was they didn't know how to reset the computer. So I reset the service interval in the computer, but the brake light is still on, so it might have a bad brake pad sensor, which is pretty common on BMWs. So yeah, we'll get new rotors, brake pads, and sensors here, you know, eventually. And that's kind of the gist of it. Now, there's a couple buttons inside the interior. We're gonna look at the interior right now. And there's a couple buttons that are faded, so I'm gonna replace a couple of the buttons inside. But other than that, I mean, the car is pretty clean. It's got tinted windows. There's a little bit of bubbling back here on the tint, you can see right there. And a little bit up top there. So that's kind of meh, whatever. But the tint level is pretty much decent. I like it. It's got, I'm pretty sure that's legal tint on the sides because you can still see in the car. And the back's a little bit darker, and I like that. I like that a lot. So there is that. Let's look inside here. So I got a towel on the seat over there for my dog so she doesn't scratch up the leather, but it's black on black, silver trim. It's got the iDrive system here. So it's got Bluetooth, navigation, all that good stuff. There's the gauge cluster. It needs floor mats too. Surprise, there's no floor mats. And I've been driving this. It's been raining here in Oregon, you guys, so it's kind of dirty inside. But yeah, let's see if we can clip this up. This is a little back seat, so I can put some car seats back here to haul my chitlins around. And that's a heat gun laying there. So I got a heat gun, you guys. I'm gonna debadge it. It looks like it was debadged at one time, but whoever put this back on, it's sideways. Look, it's crooked. Like it's tilted, like this where the one is, it's like a little bit lower, and that's really bugging me. And I honestly think that it might supposed to be over here a little bit further, but I don't know. But anyways, I'm gonna debadge this because this is definitely crooked compared to this line. To that line, it's crooked. It's bugging me. Oh, one other thing I noticed too, look at the rear brake light. If any of you owners know anything about this, look. So I think I'm missing a trim piece here, but I'm not 100%. I just noticed this like yesterday. So, but yeah, that's gonna have to be fixed, the third brake light, whatever is going on there. So, so yeah, I can open it up on the other side. It's got the sunroof going on. It's got the typical BMW features and all that stuff. So, but yeah, this is basically the gist of it. A couple of the buttons, like I was talking about, you see the fan control buttons right here. They're worn off, and you can. This is as cheap parts you can buy on Amazon and stuff, and get that replaced. The start button's got a few scratches on it. I don't know if you can see it that good in here, so I'm probably gonna replace the start button, the fan buttons, and yeah, maybe touch up this a little bit. It's got some scratches. Might be able to wrap this piece or plasti dip it. And then if you look on the steering wheel, let's go around and check out the steering wheel. It almost looks like somebody plasti dipped the steering wheel here. You can see how some of this stuff is like peeling off. So I'm gonna get the rest of this coating or whatever it is. I'm gonna peel that off and see what I'm dealing with. On my X5, I wrapped this piece in carbon fiber and it came out looking awesome. So I might wrap this just maybe back in a flat black or something. I don't think I really want to introduce any carbon to it because I kind of like the silver trim and that's in here. So yeah, that's the interior. It's got the lights up top, gray headliner, the sunroof. It's got the auto dimming mirror, all that good stuff and everything. There's so many features on this car. I don't know really to start, but it's got power seats, everything. It doesn't have the cold weather package, which I was kind of wanting, which includes heated seats and heated steering wheel and headlight washers. This car doesn't have that. So it is what it is. It's got the technology package, and I believe that's it. And it's not a sport, it's automatic. And what are these, 17-inch wheels? Yep, 17-inch wheels, 50 series, 205, so the tires should be pretty cheap. And like I'm saying, I can rotate them, so I'm gonna get extra life out of them and all that good stuff. So, all right, so here's the big kicker, the price. Now, if you guys look at these cars online, you're gonna see prices all over the board. And a lot of the prices they coincide directly with the mileage. Now, I found these cars listed at almost $25,000, and that's kind of expensive, but the miles were really, really low. I think I found one with 14,000 miles on it, which was pretty substantial. So this car has higher mileage on it than I wanted, like I said, but the price fit and the colors work for me. So that's why I was gonna jump on it. Now, I actually had two different other cars picked out, and was, like I said, I was in the process of financing them, but they were almost double the price that I paid for this one. So anyways, which was cool. What was kind of cool about this, about the price, is I picked my roommate up in it. We went for a spin around the block and went and got some gas and stuff. And so he was kind of upset or whatever. He's like, oh, you're gonna spend all your money on some Beamer or something. And I was like, let's go for a ride and check it out. So he gets in, and he's kind of got this thing against Beamers, like a lot of people do or whatever. And he said he drove one once and it was a piece of junk and blah, 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 blah. And so he hops in this and he's like, wow, his eyes instantly lit up. And he was like, okay, this car's nice. And we went for a ride. The stereo's awesome. The power's awesome for what it is. And so he stopped and get gas. I'm like, all right, how much did you pay for this car? And he's like, he's like, I don't know, I guess I'd pay 15 for it, and there's a lot of these cars going for right around 15,000. I was looking at one that was really nice, had a red interior, which is what I really wanted, but those are pretty rare. And that car was 16, 17,000. So yeah, they're there. So with the couple issues that this one has, like needing new tires and needing a brake job and everything, I got the salesman talked down to $8,500. And that is what I paid for this car, is $8,500. So this is the trip. This is the kind of crazy thing about BMWs. You look at this car and you go, wow, this is a really good looking car. And then you get that perception of, oh, this guy has money. And you guys that follow my channel, you know that I don't have money. Even when I told my buddy, when we were filming that back-end video in West Lynn, one of these drove by and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm getting. I'm gonna have to pick one of these up. And he looks at me and laughs, and he goes, isn't that car expensive? And, I just said, I can't afford anything expensive. So there's Toyota Corollas out there that cost more than this. And there's, whatever, just your run-of-the-mill cars. So now these cars do require a little bit more maintenance. And that's because that's directly related to the performance. And I tell people, anytime you go up in performance, you're gonna go up in maintenance. Compare a Toyota Corolla to a top-field dragster. The maintenance on a top-field dragster is insane compared to a Toyota Corolla, right? So the more performance you have, the more maintenance you're gonna get. And with BMWs, they have a little more performance, so you might need a little more maintenance. And that's basically what it comes down to. But if you guys are anywhat mechanically inclined and you got an internet connection and you're gonna hook up the computer. I used to run INPA and DISA, I believe it was, but I could tune and code these things, and I had all the laptop and everything set up. And I lost my laptop and tuning software in my divorce. So what I'm gonna do this time is I'm gonna try the Carly app. Their adapter's a little pricey, it's like 80 bucks, and then you gotta pay a subscription for the app, but you're able to reset all service lights and code and run in-time, real-time diagnostics with that Carly app. So I'm gonna give that a shot and try that within the next couple of weeks here, and figure out exactly what's going on with the brakes and get those things handled. So yeah, fun times ahead. Like I said, mainly gonna keep it stock and, maybe commute a little bit more during this winter time in this car, when it's real cold and stuff, going to work. So let me know if you guys are interested in seeing more about this, maybe some maintenance videos on it. I'm not sure. Oh, you guys want to see the motor real quick? This is one part I haven't detailed or cleaned out, is the engine, so you can see it's a bit dusty, but yeah, naturally aspirated inline 6, 3 liter. Got the oil filter right here, which is very convenient, just like the old school E36s had. So yeah, looks completely all stock, and that's it. There's the engine. So there it is. The E82 platform, 128, 2011 BMW.